How to streamline your VA refinance. The benefits of a VA IRRRL. Hey everybody, thanks so much for joining me today. I am Jeff, the Mortgage Pro, and today we're talking about one of my favorite types of loans to do, a VA loan, and in particular, a VA refinance loan called a VA IRRRL, IRRRL. It stands for the Veterans Administration Interest Rate Reduction Refinance Loan. I know it's a big word to say, big abbreviation to be able to say that, VA IRRRL. But this is one of my favorite types of loans. Number one, I love doing loans for veterans. A lot of my family was in the military and served a lot of time in that. I didn't have a chance to do that when I was growing up, but I always feel like I want to give back, and in my profession, the way to give back is to be able to do VA loans for veterans. So VA IRRRL, they haven't been as common over 2022 as they will be in 2023 because interest rates were going up. But as interest rates go down and veterans need to refinance their loans, this is the easiest way to do it in terms of reducing the interest rate on that loan. Now, here is some eligibility requirements that you need to make sure that you have in order to do this. Number one, you need to have a VA loan already in place. So that's a VA-backed home loan. You probably got that when you bought your house, and you probably already know that you have a VA loan to begin with when you're going to refinance it. Number two, you need to plan to use this interest rate reduction loan to refinance that actual VA loan. So in other words, if you have two properties and one of them has a VA loan on it and the other one doesn't, you can't use the VA loan to refinance a different loan. You have to have a VA loan in place first in order to use the VA IRRRL. So if you have another mortgage on a property, like a conventional loan or an FHA loan or something like that, you'll have to refinance into a VA loan to begin with. And that's not a VA IRRRL, that's just a straight VA loan to be able to do that. You have to prove that you actually live in the home in order to do the VA IRRRL. So you can't have purchased a home with a VA loan and then moved out and turned it into an investment property. That's totally fine. Obviously, you can use your VA loan however you see fit after you leave, because oftentimes veterans are moving around and they may have purchased a house in one location and have to move to another location, but they want to make sure that that VA loan is in place. That's totally fine. But in order to use the VA IRRRL, you actually have to live in the property. So that's definitely a requirement. Your existing VA loan has to be at least 210 days old. This is something that came into place over the last couple of years because people were taking advantage of, mortgage people were taking advantage of refinancing VA loans way too often with high costs, and it was not benefiting veterans. So the VA stepped in and said, hey, we've got to wait 7 monthly payments or 210 days in order for you to be able to do a VA IRRRL. So you can't just do it over and over and over again. You have to actually make sure that it's a benefit to the veteran, which is super important, and make sure that it has to be 210 days old. And then your interest rate has to drop by 0.5%. So if you're at 4% on your VA loan, it has to go down to 3.5%. And that has to be a benefit to you in order to do that. And again, that's because people were taking advantage of it in the past. So the VA had to step in and make some extra eligibility for it. Okay, so those are eligibility requirements that are required for a VA loan. Let's look at some of the benefits of a VA interest rate reduction loan, refinance loan. Hard to say. So it's very limited paperwork. The only thing that you're really going to need is a certificate of eligibility and your identification. And that's just about it. There is no income, no employment, no credit verification required at all. So significantly less paperwork, even from when you actually purchase the house with your VA benefit. Interest rates are typically lower on VA IRRRL loans. And that's VA loans in general, and that's because they're backed by the Veterans Administration, meaning the VA doesn't actually originate the loans, it doesn't own the loans, but it insures the loans in case of default. So that gives lenders an out should you default on the loan, so they can offer lower interest rates than conventional or jumbo mortgages typically when you do a VA IRRRL refinance. There's no PMI required, just like a regular VA loan. We don't have any PMI. There is no appraisal required when you're doing a VA IRRRL refinance. It's assumed that even though you already own the house, whatever the original value is what the value that they're going to use. So even if the property has gone down in value, you're still going to be able to get an interest rate reduction because it helps you with your monthly payment when you have a lower interest rate when you're doing a VA IRRRL refinance. There's little to no closing costs. There's a 0.5% funding fee that you'll have to pay, just like on any VA loan that has a funding fee, but this is significantly less when you're doing a VA IRRRL. In some instances, you may be a disabled veteran, or you're able to waive the funding fee for certain eligibilities of veterans. So make sure to check into that. And if you could waive the funding fee, awesome, because then you don't have to pay as much in closing costs. And the benefit of a VA IRRRL is you can actually roll any closing costs into the loan amount, which means that you shouldn't have any money out of pocket, or very, very little money out of pocket when you're doing the actual VA loan. A low credit score will not disqualify you from a VA loan. We're not checking what your credit score is. Again, if you already have a VA loan, we already know that you can qualify and you'll be able to refinance as long as you have that certificate of eligibility. And then lastly, it's available to just about all types of veterans, active duty members, and anybody of the armed forces, including the reserves and the National Guards. So as you can see, significant benefits to doing a VA IRRRL loan, which is an interest rate reduction loan for veterans. If you have any questions at all about doing one of these, and please make sure that you reach out to me. My favorite loan to do to be able to give back to veterans. Thanks so much for watching, and have an awesome day.